Hello, and welcome to another edition of All or None According to Jack. As you can see, there is a ring behind me, and I think you can see the AEW symbol. So we're going to talk about All Elite Wrestling, otherwise known as AEW Wrestling, tonight. And this is going to be something of in the vernacular of pro wrestling, this is going to be something of a shoot or in my vernacular, a rant. Some things have happened recently in AEW that I found very alarming, and it's been a very hot topic. And so last weekend they had a pay-per-view called All Out. So and I think George and I touched on this that we're not so high on AEW wrestling for various reasons. I kind of listed a few of them out in my notes, but the real white elephant in the room is so is a wrestler known as CM Punk, a very popular wrestler. He comes out with his fists all taped and blah blah blah. Comes out to the song by Living Color, Cult of Personality, great song, but let me tell you, he really screwed things up for himself. So to get into the gist of it, so there was something that you would never do. So I know in baseball, they always say any problems that you might have, keep it in the locker room. So, like for example, you've got the Mets. Last year, you had a couple of guys on the Mets. Francisco Lindor and Jeff McNeil. They had some kind of dispute, and there may have even come to fisticuffs in the locker room. But you know what? Professional that there are people that put Francisco down. Basically, he didn't have as good a year last year as he's having this year. So, but the man knew enough to keep it professional and keep it within the sanctity of the locker room. You know what? They kissed and made up, but they kept it. He made some ridiculous joke about it. How they were fighting over, was it a raccoon or an opossum or a rat that made it into our locker room? But he turned what could have been a bad thing into a humorous, ridiculous thing, and people left him alone. And guess what? They made up, and they seem to be very good teammates this year because guess what? They're both winning and they're both enjoying the hell out of it, which is how it should be. So, getting back to CM Punk, there were some things said. So he was friends with one Colt Cabana, and then Colt Cabana was eventually let go from AEW. So Hangman Adam Page went out and did an interview, one of those talking segments on the mic during the show. He alluded to the fact that, oh, maybe CM Punk will get me fired too, or something to that effect. Now, CM Punk, of course, didn't like that. He had some bad dealings with Colt Cabana in the past, where supposedly he bailed him out of trouble with, monetarily, and then Colt came back and tried to sue him, and then I guess it was thrown out of court, but the bad blood's still there. But that's something that Adam Page should have never brought out to the general public. So then on top of that, you have oh shit, so there's Kenny Omega, and there's Hello, we're back. As I said, you think you have all the right notes, and occasionally you forget something. So, yeah, so there was, what they call the Elite. There's Kenny Omega. There's the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson. And they, not only are they probably at the top of the card, at least in tag team wrestling, and they've all been champions. Matt and Nick Jackson were tag team champions twice. Kenny Omega was the AWE champion for a while. So they, being at the top of the card and being there from the beginning, they also have the title of Executive Vice President, or EVP. And so I guess they said some untoward things, or they actually, no, I don't think they did. I'm trying to get my story straight here. But so CM Punk, so let's back up again. So Jon Moxley, formerly known as Dean Ambrose in WWE, in the annals of WWE wrestling, he had become champion. He beat CM Punk on TV. So then they had an impromptu match at All Out where CM Punk won the title back. So after the match, there was a conference, with the media. So what does CM Punk do? He gets out there, he starts to trash these guys. So he trashed Colt Cabana, he trashed Hangman Adam Page, and then he trashed the Elite, or Matt and Nick Jackson and Kenny Omega, because they had, he referred to them as the EVPs, that they didn't lead the locker room and they didn't shut this down. Meanwhile, you see, I'm watching this. Thankfully, it was on YouTube. I'm watching this press conference, and you can see Tony Khan sitting next to him like a deer in the headlights, as if to say, "Oh my God, what is this guy saying? What is this guy doing to trash my company?" So, and everybody, all of us so-called marks or fans, we're all wondering, is this a work, or is this really happening? I have to be honest. If it's a work, it's a really good one, because it seemed pretty damn real to me. I know Triple H and WWE has said some not so nice things about working with CM Punk, about how he's an egomaniac. It's like, they've given this guy the keys to the kingdom, and he still sits there and gripes, which is what he's doing now, or did last weekend. I mean, they put the title back on the guy, for God's sake, and there he is trashing the company. What gives? And CM Punk, not for nothing, you're a hypocrite, because you're sitting there talking about Adam Page or MJF, how they shit where they sleep, or shit where they eat. That's exactly what you did. They put the freaking title back on you. That means you're the number one guy. They regard you as the number one guy and the number one draw in the company. That's very real. Being that we all know professional wrestling scripted, and it's a work, but when they don't just put that title on some Joe Schmo jobber that loses to everybody in the beginning of his career. They put it on somebody that they think is going to be a good main eventer and is going to sell tickets. And what do? You go and you blow the sky high and you embarrass your boss. Now, very many negative things have been said about Vince McMahon in the past, but you know what? He never would have tolerated this crap. And you know what? He was right for firing you when he did. So Tony Khan, I guess he was really embarrassed and he didn't want to deal with it on camera. So cooler heads prevailed. So, well, actually, no, cooler heads didn't prevail. So after this conference was over, CM Punk's back in the locker room. From what I understand, a scrum took place. The EVPs, or the Elite, they confronted him in the locker room, and some fisticuffs happened, and there were some injuries. I think Kenny Omega got his hair pulled, or somebody got bitten by one of the wrestling road agents. So we were all wondering what would happen. So basically, I tuned into wrestling, AEW Wrestling on as I normally do, 8 o'clock on Wednesday evenings. And Tony, they immediately, so the format is they go right to the commentators. They say hello. They talk to everybody for a few minutes. They may recap other happenings that happened in the past. Then they'll introduce the first match, or somebody's musical hit and somebody will come out and talk, or they'll go right to a match. But in this case, they went right to Tony Khan, who I think he did the right thing. And I'm sorry, just to back up, after I watched this press conference, I think it was Monday night or Tuesday night on YouTube, I went right to the AEW official site, and I saw, that they have a drop down or a section for the roster, which we'll talk more about that in detail later. But in addition to the roster, they talk about who all the champions are, and I noticed that the AEW champion was very conspicuous by his absence. So they had the other champions, the TNT champion, the All Atlantic champion, the tag team champions, the women's champion, but no AEW champion. So, what's going on? So Wednesday night comes around at about 8:02, 8:03. They cut right to Tony Khan. And, he's more, I would say, he's less in your face than Vince McMahon would be. He handles things a little more professionally and, maybe a little more passive aggressively. But basically, what he said that he had to vacate the AEW championship, and there was another championship that the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega won, called the Trios Champion. We'll talk about all these titles as well in time. But basically, so he also vacated that title. So we'll get to how this was all resolved. But my problem, too many freaking titles. How many titles do we have here? So you got the championship. You got the TNT championship, which is held by Wardlow currently. You have the All Atlantic championship, which is then you have the tag team championship. So that's what, 4. Now you have the trios champion, 5. Now you have the women's championship, 6. Now you have the TBS champion. That's 7. 7 freaking titles. That's just with the AEW name. Then you have the Ring of Honor champions, because they bought out Ring of Honor. So you have the Ring of Honor title, and you have 3 other titles. You have your equivalent to the TBS champion. You have your equivalent to the All Atlantic champion. You have the Ring of Honor tag team champions. So that's 4 more titles. So what's that? No, 11. And then you have the FTR champion, brought in by Taz's guy. Forget his name. Ricky Starks. That's it. 12 titles. That's not including what you have from New Japan Wrestling. I didn't even count those. Tony, what the fuck are you doing, man? You're watering down your product. How can you have that many champions? So back when I was watching WWE in the 70s, they had 2 champions. You had Bruno Sammartino holding on to the men's championship. Then you had the tag team champions. That was it. 2. Later on, they introduced the Intercontinental Champion after the turn of the decade in like 1980 or 81. Pat Patterson brought that in. Okay, so that's one more, but that's too many freaking titles, Tony. What the hell are you doing? You are watering down the product. You are making it as though that top title isn't as important because now you're giving all these titles away to these mid-card champions. I don't get it. First one to go for me would be that trios championship. What did you need an all Atlantic champion for? What do you need an FTR champion for? I just think that is really stupid. Next thing I want to shoot on all these people you've hired on the roster. I mean, I went on the site and I counted it. It's like 100 to 120 men's wrestlers. Then you have like another 30, 40 women wrestlers. I mean, what the hell, man? You have two televised shows, one on TBS, one on TNT. So you have on TBS, no, on TNT, you have all your flagship AEW show, AEW Dynamite. Then so that's a 2-hour show. So what can you do? You have basically 5 or 6 slots for wrestling. So that's maybe what, 12 to 20 wrestlers who actively participate that night, depending upon if they're singles matches or tag team matches or 6-man tags. And then what do you have? So then Friday night TNT, you have the show at 10 p.m. It's 1 hour, so you have about 3 or 4 matches, 3 or 4 slots. So that's what, 10 to 15 more wrestlers. So that's what, an average of about maybe what, 35 to 40 wrestlers performing during the week. What are these other 110 people supposed to do? You got them buried on this AEW Dark, which is on YouTube, facing jobbers. And that's total BS, man. You hire these people and then you relegate them to the back, never to be heard from them again. I mean, are you doing what the Yankees are doing, or where you're buying talent just to keep them away from the Red Sox? I mean, that's stupid. You're demoralizing your whole roster, or at least half to 3/4 of your roster. I feel for these people. These people are trying to make a living, but it's like, you know what? It's like being on a team and being the 12th or the 13th man on the bench. You won a championship and you got a trophy, but you feel like you didn't do anything to contribute to that championship because you're sitting on the sidelines. You're not really contributing, or maybe you had a pinch hit at bat and you went 0 for 1. Or in football, they put you back and it's a blowout game in the Super Bowl, and they throw you in for 5 minutes at the end during garbage time. I mean, come on, really? Put yourself in their place. I never thought I would say this, but so when AEW first started, I thought it was a great product and it was a great alternative to WWE. But, Vince McMahon, we thought he was crazy. Maybe he was right all along, thinking to himself, give them enough rope, they'll hang themselves and they'll fail eventually. And you know what? He's right. I see it. You are failing. I just don't see the buzz that I used to see from this product. I just don't see the urgency to buy the pay-per-views anymore. I don't get it. So, what else can we talk about? I mean, I don't want to see AEW die like WCW did, but the writing needs to improve. I think your vision needs to improve. You need to get better writers. I think you need to step back and let the pros who really know the business handle it, because you're failing, man. I mean, I will give some props to, like, on Wednesday, you had MJF come out. That was a very good segment. He came out, he teased the crowd like he was a good guy, wearing a Buffalo Bills jersey, team that's never won a Super Bowl in 4 tries. And he got the crowd on his side. He got the crowd on his side for a few minutes. I mean, that was cool. He's a funny guy. I mean, wrestling wise, he's okay, but I mean, he cuts an amazing promo, good guy or bad guy. So then John Moxley comes out to his, Wild Thing music. And he was, you know what? I didn't always think he had great mic skills, but you know what? He blew me away. He was really good. The first thing he said to MJF, "You're full of shit, man." So then MJF came clean and went back to being his heel self, and then Moxley threatened him, and MJF, being the cowardly heel that he is, played his part to the hilt and chickened out and went up the ramp and let John Moxley do his thing. And so basically, what's happening, going back to Tony Khan speaking, basically to rectify this title situation. So now what they're doing is they're having a title tournament, 6 wrestlers to crown a new champion. So they've already had Bryan Danielson face Adam Page. Danielson won with a roll up. Basically, he countered his buckshot lariat into a roll up and won. So good for Bryan Danielson. Consummate professional, doesn't throw his contemporaries under the bus. Then you had Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin face off. Great match. Sammy Guevara, true heel, cheated to win, but he won. But I will say that Tony got 3 of the pillars of AEW, homegrown talent in there. Sammy Guevara, Darby Allin, Adam Page in the tournament. So the second round, it's now going to be Chris Jericho versus Bryan Danielson this coming Wednesday, I believe. One of them are on Wednesday and one of them are on Friday. So the other semifinal, John Moxley and Sammy Guevara. So then the champions will meet at some point in the future. Maybe the following week, but we'll see. But at the very least, it's a good move to try and get the product back on track with a good representative champion. And John Moxley came out and spoke, and you know what? In kayfabe, he took responsibility for the fact that he didn't win. He lost to CM Punk. He admitted that. He lost fair and square, but now he has another chance. And he basically hit home about how important that championship is to him. And I thought it was just a very good promo, and it promoted some healing for the company. I will say, though, looking at the state of WWE now, with Vince McMahon having been pushed to the background for some allegations that came up and paying off some women for some untoward things that may have happened, I actually think the product is improving now that Triple H is, the head of the direction of the company. They brought a few people back. I find it a little more entertaining. I just like it better. And Tony Khan, I think you need to take a step back and look at what's happening in this industry right now. You need to, you can't be bringing on all these people from Ring of Honor and all these people from New Japan Pro Wrestling. You're watering your product down. And these pillars that I talked about, and all this young how would you say, organic talent that you have. You need to utilize them more. What can I say? This has been a shoot on AEW Wrestling with Jack Toledano. My show being All or Not, according to Jack. Please let me know what you think. Please subscribe. Please hit the like button. And I hope that in the future I'll be able to justify buying some tickets to a future event. Uh, Hopefully they'll come back to UBS Arena later in the year and things will be more stabilized. And now that MJF is back, I think he'll really entertain that Long Island crowd like he did last year. Good to have you back, MJF. This is Jack Toledano. Good night, all.